First Contact's Folly. The hegemony's flagship, Eternal Dominion, emerged from hyperspace above Earth, its crystalline hull refracting sunlight in a display meant to inspire awe and terror. Supreme Commander Vexthor stood on the bridge, his four arms clasped behind his back as he observed the blue planet below. 3 centuries of conquest had taught the hegemony that First Contact followed a predictable pattern. Shock, awe, submission. Earth would be no different. Primitive civilization detected. Supreme Commander, his sensor officer reported, mandibles clicking in amusement. Their orbital installations are laughably basic. No quantum shielding, no antimatter cores, not even basic gravitational manipulators. Vexthor's upper lip curled in a smile. Begin standard conquest protocol. Disable their primary defense installations. Show them the futility of resistance. The hegemony's combat computers targeted Earth's most obvious military installations. Bases, aircraft carriers, missile silos. Energy beams lanced down from orbit, precise and devastating. But instead of panic and chaos, they were met with silence. Supreme Commander, his communications officer called out, confusion evident in her voice. We're detecting no emergency broadcasts, no desperate pleas, no military response. Vexthor frowned. In 300 years of conquest, they had never encountered such eerie calm. Launch the first wave. Let's see how they handle ground forces. Drop pods streaked through Earth's atmosphere, carrying the hegemony's elite shock troops. They landed in strategic locations around the globe. Washington, D.C., Moscow, Beijing, London. The pods opened to reveal empty streets, silent cities. Something's wrong, Vexthor muttered, just as his tactical display erupted with warnings. The primitive orbital installations suddenly shed their outer shells, revealing advanced weapon systems that had been carefully disguised. From underground bunkers emerged sleek vessels of unknown design, and from the ocean depths rose submarines that defied the hegemony sensors. Impossible, Vexthor roared as the first salvo hit. The attacks weren't the crude nuclear weapons they'd expected. Instead, precisely calibrated quantum disruptors. Technology the hegemony had thought unique to their civilization tore through their shields. Admiral Sarah Chen sat in her command chair aboard the Earth Defense Force flagship, Humanity's Hope, watching the hegemony's confusion with grim satisfaction. For 50 years, since the first detection of alien signals, Earth had prepared, while the hegemony saw what they expected to see. A primitive civilization barely reaching for the stars. Humanity had been studying, learning, and preparing. All units, execute Operation Looking Glass, Chen commanded. Around the globe, humanity's real military might emerge from its carefully crafted camouflage. What the hegemony had thought were simple communication satellites revealed themselves as a network of quantum entanglement weapons. Orbital debris transformed into swarms of autonomous combat drones. The hegemony troops on the ground found themselves not facing primitive projectile weapons, but soldiers equipped with reverse-engineered alien technology, enhanced through human innovation. Each primitive city was a carefully constructed facade, hiding underground complexes filled with technology that matched or exceeded the hegemony's own. Send the message, Chen ordered. On every hegemony frequency, in their own language, Earth broadcast its response. We've been watching. We've been learning. We've been waiting. You thought you found an easy target. Instead, you found humanity. Welcome to your worst nightmare. Vexthor watched in horror as his ground forces were systematically isolated and neutralized. The humans didn't just match hegemony technology. They had improved upon it. Where hegemony shields were standardized, human defenses adapted. Where hegemony weapons followed prescribed patterns, human attacks came from impossible angles with impossible variations. Full retreat, Vexthor ordered, but it was too late. Quantum locks engaged around his fleet, holding them in position. The humans had turned space itself into a trap. In the centuries since the hegemony began its expansion, they had encountered many civilizations, Some fought with honor, some surrendered immediately, some tried to negotiate. But they had never encountered a species that had spent decades preparing specifically to counter their every advantage. As his ship's systems began to fail one by one, Vex Thor received one final transmission from the surface. Admiral Chen's voice was calm, almost conversational. You came expecting to find savages. Instead, you found humanity at its finest, patient, innovative, and really good at learning from others' mistakes. Now, shall we discuss the terms of your surrender? The first battle for Earth lasted less than 6 hours. It would go down in hegemony history as the day they learned a crucial lesson. Never mistake preparation for primitiveness, and never, ever underestimate humanity's capacity for innovation. But this was only the beginning. The hegemony hadn't become the dominant force in the galaxy by accepting defeat easily, and humanity was about to show them just how deep their preparation really went. Operation Trojan Horse. The Hegemony High Council chamber on Nexus Prime buzzed with agitation. Holographic displays showed the humiliating defeat at Earth from every angle, while dozens of the galaxy's most powerful beings argued over their next move. Supreme Leader Exvala, their 12-foot frame draped in ceremonial metals, silenced the chamber with a thunderous slam of their gravitational scepter. One primitive planet's clever trick does not negate centuries of dominion, Exvala declared. We will crush this insurgence with overwhelming force. In the shadows of the chamber, Dr. Maya Rodriguez smiled faintly. Dressed in the ornate robes of a hegemony cultural advisor, she looked exactly like every other member of the vast bureaucracy that kept the empire running. The genetic modifications that had given her purple-tinted skin and slightly elongated features were flawless. 3 years of deep cover preparation were about to pay off. The hegemony was mobilizing the largest fleet in its history, 50,000 warships, each capable of reducing a continent to ash. They believed overwhelming force was the answer. They didn't realize they were playing directly into humanity's hands. On Earth, Admiral Chen watched the hegemony's fleet movements through quantum-entangled sensors that Dr. Rodriguez's team had planted throughout their territory. Begin Phase 2, she ordered. Let's show them what happens when you corner a species that spent its entire history perfecting the art of warfare. Throughout the hegemony's fleet, carefully planted sleeper agents, humans who had spent years posing as various alien species, began their work. Weapon systems were subtly miscalibrated. Navigation data was corrupted with errors so small they wouldn't be noticed until it was too late. Communication protocols were seeded with invisible backdoors. Dr. Rodriguez moved through the hegemony's central command, her implanted quantum computer interfacing with their systems. The Empire's greatest strength, its rigid hierarchy and standardization, was about to become its greatest weakness. Every ship used the same protocols, the same security systems, the same command structures. Break one, break them all. The hegemony fleet arrived at Earth in waves of thunder and light. 50,000 ships, carrying the collective might of 1,000 conquered worlds. They expected to find a defiant but ultimately doomed planet. Instead, they found emptiness. Earth was gone. Where the blue planet should have been, there was nothing but open space. Their sensors showed no trace of the planet, its moon, or any of the orbital installations that had so thoroughly humiliated their first attack. Impossible. Exvala raged from their command ship. No species has planet-scale cloaking technology. Actually, Dr. Rodriguez said, stepping onto the bridge, her disguise melting away like morning mist. We don't. But we knew you'd believe we did. After all, if we could defeat your first attack, surely we could hide a planet. Throughout the fleet, other hidden humans revealed themselves. Not many, perhaps 1 or 2 per ship, but enough. As the hegemony reeled in confusion, trying to understand how their security had been so thoroughly compromised, the trap closed. The empty space around the fleet erupted with quantum mines, millions of them, each one specially tuned to the frequencies of hegemony shields. They had been there all along, masked by technology reverse-engineered from the hegemony's own stealth systems. Earth hadn't vanished. It had simply been hidden behind the largest holographic screen ever created, while the real trap was laid in plain sight. You see, Dr. Rodriguez explained to the stunned Exvala, humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our creativity, our ability to take your own arrogance and use it against you. You saw what you expected to see. A primitive planet, then an impossibly advanced one, then no planet at all. You never saw us for what we really are: survivors, adapters, tricksters. The quantum mines detonated in perfectly synchronized sequence, not to destroy but to disable. Ship after ship found their systems locked, their weapons powerless, their communications reduced to short range only. From behind the holographic screen, Earth's true fleet emerged. Not the defensive forces that had repelled the first attack, but humanity's real military might. Ships that combined hegemony technology with human ingenuity in ways the Empire's engineers had never imagined possible. Admiral Chen's voice echoed through every ship in the hegemony fleet. Your empire is built on fear and dominance. Ours is built on something far more powerful: the collective ingenuity of a species that has spent its entire history learning to overcome impossible odds. Now let's discuss what happens next. The hegemony's great fleet hung powerless in space, undone not by superior firepower, but by humanity's talent for turning an enemy's strength against them. Phase 2 was complete, but the real war was just beginning. Because now, every subjugated species in the galaxy would learn that the mighty hegemony wasn't invincible after all. And that was exactly what humanity had been counting on. The Ghost Fleet rises. Deep within the Kuiper Belt, in the darkest reaches of Earth's solar system, Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper watched as thousands of crystalline structures shed their icy camouflage. For decades, what appeared to be nothing more than frozen asteroids had concealed humanity's greatest achievement: the Ghost Fleet. Ghost Fleet, initiate emergence protocol, Harper commanded from his flagship, the HMS Prometheus. The crystalline structures began to pulse with an inner light, quantum engines humming to life. These weren't just warships. They were the culmination of everything humanity had learned from studying the hegemony's technology, improved through human innovation and creativity. Each vessel in the Ghost Fleet incorporated technology that the hegemony had deemed impossible. Where their ships relied on brute force and overwhelming power, humanity's vessels used quantum entanglement drives that could traverse space without leaving a trace. Where hegemony weapons destroyed, human weapons transformed. Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the quantum comm. Commander Harper, the hegemony's reinforcements are exactly where we want them. Time to show them our full hand. The Ghost Fleet moved like liquid shadow through space, their quantum drives bending light itself around their hulls. 5,000 ships, each one carrying technology that would rewrite the rules of space warfare. They emerged behind the hegemony's reinforcement fleet, another 30,000 vessels rushing to save their trapped main force. All ships, execute Protocol Prometheus, Harper ordered. The Ghost Fleet's primary weapons powered up, not the expected energy beams or plasma torpedoes, but something entirely new: quantum convergent arrays, capable of temporarily transforming matter itself. The first shots fired weren't shots at all. Beams of pure quantum manipulation energy reached out, touching hegemony vessels. Where they struck, metal and energy became temporarily fluid malleable. Weapon systems transformed into inert matter. Shield generators rewrote themselves at the atomic level. By all the stars, a hegemony commander breathed, watching his mighty dreadnought turn partially translucent, its weapons becoming nothing more than decorative crystals. What kind of demons are these humans? The Ghost Fleet moved through the hegemony reinforcements like avenging spirits. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds found themselves transformed, disabled, but not destroyed. That was the key difference. Humanity wasn't interested in massacre. They wanted to send a message. On every disabled ship, screens flickered to life showing the same image. Dr. Rodriguez standing on the bridge of a Ghost Fleet vessel. Your empire is built on borrowed technology, stolen from the civilizations you've conquered. We built something new, something you never imagined possible, because you were too busy dominating to innovate. The quantum conversion waves continued their work. In under an hour, the pride of the hegemony's reinforcement fleet hung powerless in space, their ships transformed into beautiful but harmless crystalline sculptures. From hidden bases throughout the solar system, more of humanity's secrets emerged. Swarms of autonomous quantum drones, each one smaller than a human hand, but carrying the processing power of a city. Networks of artificial gravity wells that could redirect entire fleets. Technology that didn't just match the hegemony's best, it made it obsolete. You see, Admiral Chen's voice echoed through space. While you were watching our cities, counting our satellites, and measuring our weapons, you never asked the right question. You never wondered why a species that could split the atom less than a century ago seemed so primitive in some ways and so advanced in others. The answer became clear as the Ghost Fleet took up position around the transformed hegemony ships. Humanity hadn't just been preparing for war. They'd been preparing to change the very nature of space combat. Every primitive technology the hegemony had observed had been a carefully constructed facade, hiding quantum computers in vacuum tubes, antimatter containment systems in fission reactors. Your empire spans 1,000 worlds, Chen continued, but it stopped innovating centuries ago. You became so convinced of your superiority that you forgot the one truth humanity has always known: adapt or die. The Ghost Fleet sensors detected quantum communication, bursts from the disabled hegemony ships, calls for help reaching out to every corner of their empire. But these weren't the desperate pleas of a defeated force. They were carrying something else, proof that the invincible hegemony could be beaten. Across the galaxy, subjugated species intercepted these transmissions. They saw mighty hegemony warships transformed into floating crystal gardens. They saw human technology that defied explanation. And for the first time in centuries, they saw hope. Phase 3 was complete, but humanity wasn't finished. The Ghost Fleet had revealed itself, but it was only one part of Earth's arsenal. The real revolution was about to begin, not just in technology, but in the very structure of galactic society. Because while the hegemony had built an empire through fear, humanity was about to show the galaxy a different way. The age of dominion was ending. The age of innovation was about to begin. Breaking the chain. The Arcturian ambassador's tentacles trembled as she watched the encrypted transmission for the third time. The images were undeniable. The mighty hegemony fleet, transformed into crystalline art by human technology. After 5 centuries of submission to the hegemony, a spark of defiance ignited in her core consciousness. In the depths of Proxima Centauri's industrial complex, Admiral Chen sat across from the Arcturian, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic display between them. "You're not here just to verify the footage, Ambassador Catal. You're here because you want to know if we can do it again." The Arcturian's chromatophores flickered with suppressed emotion. "My people were the first to fall to the hegemony. We've spent centuries building their ships, maintaining their weapons, watching them subjugate others as they subjugated us. If what you offer is real—" "It's better than real," Dr. Rodriguez interrupted, entering the chamber. She placed a small quantum crystal on the table. "It's transferable." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. The Centaurians, master engineers forced to serve as the hegemony's technical slaves. The Rigelian swarm mines, their vast intelligence networks repurposed for imperial surveillance. The Silicon Collective of Vega, their computational mastery twisted to optimize conquest. One by one, they received not just proof of the hegemony's vulnerability, but something far more precious: the means to fight back. The quantum crystal Catal held contained more than technical specifications. It held hope in the form of adaptable templates, ways to modify existing hegemony technology using principles humans had discovered. The same principles that had allowed Earth to hide its true capabilities for so long. "We don't want servants or subjects," Admiral Chen explained. We want allies, partners. Each of your species has knowledge, capabilities, and perspectives we lack. Together, we can do more than just defeat the hegemony. We can build something better. In the shipyards of Arcturus, hegemony overseers suddenly found their control systems non-responsive. Throughout the Regelian information networks, hidden protocols activated, severing the hegemony's grip on data flows. The Silicon Collective's vast computational arrays began processing something new: freedom. The response from the hegemony was swift and brutal, or would have been, if their weapons still worked as intended. Ships launched from conquest fleets found their systems transformed by hidden quantum triggers, their fearsome weapons reduced to light shows. Centuries of oppression had hidden a truth they never suspected. Their subject species had been learning, adapting, preparing, just like humanity. Your empire's fatal flaw, Dr. Rodriguez told the captured Hegemony Council through quantum transmission, was believing that obedience meant submission. Every species you conquered added their genius to your technology, their insights to your empire. They watched, they learned, and they waited, just like we did. The rebellion spread like quantum fire through the galaxy. Species after species rose up, using modified versions of humanity's innovations combined with their own unique capabilities. The Arcturians' mastery of biotechnology, merged with quantum conversion fields, created living ships that could adapt to any attack. The Regelian swarm minds linked with human AI to create battle networks that could outthink any strategy. But it wasn't just military technology that spread. Humanity shared everything: medical advances, clean energy systems, sustainable terraforming techniques. Technologies the hegemony had hoarded or suppressed, believing that keeping their subjects dependent would keep them obedient. The Silicon Collective's representative, a crystalline entity named Pure Logic Stream, summarized it best. The hegemony built an empire of fear. Humanity has shown us how to build a federation of innovation. In the space of weeks, the mighty hegemony found itself cut off, isolated, its subject worlds no longer responding to commands. Its mighty fleets hung powerless in space, transformed into artistic reminders of the price of tyranny. But more importantly, its foundation of fear had been replaced by something stronger: hope. Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of that HMS Prometheus, watching ships of a dozen species gathering around Earth. Not in conquest or submission, but in alliance. The hegemony thought power came from domination. She mused. They never understood that true power comes from collaboration. The chain of oppression that had bound the galaxy for centuries was breaking, link by link. But this wasn't just a rebellion, it was a transformation. Because humanity hadn't just shown the galaxy how to fight back, they'd shown them how to work together. And in doing so, they'd created something the hegemony could never understand: a future built not on fear, but on the combined potential of every species reaching for the stars together. The final phase was approaching. The hegemony still held their throne world, protected by defenses they believed impregnable. They were about to learn one last lesson about the power of unity. Empire of Cards. The hegemony's throne world, Nexus Prime, hung in space like a jewel of defiance. Its orbital rings bristled with weapon systems drawn from 1,000 conquered worlds. Energy shields layered the atmosphere in a crystalline web. On the surface, towering spires of living metal reached into the sky, the last bastion of an empire that had ruled the galaxy for over a millennium. Supreme Leader Exvala stood in their orbital command center, watching the combined fleet of former subjects and human allies approaching. Their final message had been simple: surrender or be transformed. Exvala's response had been equally brief: come and try. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, surrounded by representatives from 24 species. The Arcturian tentacles wove complex patterns in the air as they coordinated their bioships. Regelian swarm minds hummed in quantum harmony. The Silicon Collective's crystalline vessels pulsed with computational energy. All forces, Chen commanded, commence Operation House of Cards. The attack that followed wasn't just a battle. It was a symphony of unified species showing what they could accomplish together. Human quantum conversion technology merged with Arcturian bioengineering, creating waves that turned Nexus Prime's mighty shields into flowering gardens of energy. Rigelian battle networks joined with Silicon collective processors to predict and counter every hegemony defense strategy before it could form. But the true power wasn't in the technology. It was in the cooperation. Species that had been forced to fight each other for centuries now moved in perfect harmony, each bringing their unique strengths, covering others' weaknesses, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Exvela watched in horror as their defenses fell, not to brute force, but to transformation. Weapon platforms became art installations. Defense satellites transformed into communication arrays broadcasting messages of freedom. The very orbital rings that had protected their capital became bridges between stars. How? Exvala demanded as human quantum commandos materialized on their command deck. How did you unite them all against us? Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward, her quantum crystal glowing. We didn't unite them against you. We showed them how to unite for themselves. Your empire was built on division, keeping species separate, afraid, dependent. We showed them a different way. The fall of Nexus Prime took less than a day. Not a single life was lost. The hegemony's mighty weapons, their fearsome defenses, their symbols of power, all transformed into monuments to a new age. Their towering spires now hosted councils where former enemies worked together. Their military installations became centers of shared learning. In the Grand Throne Room, Admiral Chen faced the assembled representatives of the former hegemony. You have a choice, she announced. Continue clinging to power alone, or join us in building something greater. Because that's humanity's real secret. We never wanted to rule. We wanted to unite. The response came not from the hegemony leaders, but from their own people. Scientists tired of suppressing innovation. Warriors weary of endless conquest. Citizens who had seen what cooperation could achieve. The empire didn't fall. It transformed, just like the ships and weapons had transformed. 1 year later, the Galactic Federation held its first full council. Representatives from every species, including the former hegemony, gathered on Earth. The planet that had sparked a revolution not through conquest, but through collaboration. The universe is vast, Admiral Chen told the assembled council, and no single species has all the answers. But together we can reach further than any empire ever dreamed. Where the hegemony had built walls, the Federation built bridges. Where they had hoarded knowledge, the Federation shared discoveries. Former slave species worked alongside their former masters, each contributing their unique perspectives to solve the challenges of the galaxy. The last of the transformed hegemony warships were preserved as orbiting monuments, crystalline reminders that the greatest power doesn't come from dominance, but from unity. That the strongest civilizations aren't built on fear, but on cooperation. And at the heart of it all was humanity, not as conquerors or saviors, but as catalysts. The species that had shown the galaxy that creativity, innovation, and collaboration could overcome any empire. The stars no longer witnessed the march of conquest. Instead, they saw the dance of cooperation, as ships of 1,000 designs carried the combined knowledge and dreams of every species toward a future they would build together. Because in the end, humanity's greatest victory wasn't defeating the hegemony. It was showing the galaxy that there was a better way. That the future belonged not to those who could dominate, but to those who could cooperate, innovate, and transform. And that was a lesson worth crossing the stars to learn.